The bus ride to Fox River is the loudest silence you'll ever hear. You're shackled to a man who smells like cheap cigarettes and old regrets, watching the Illinois cornfields turn into 20-foot concrete walls topped with razor wire. Most people watch Prison Break and see a story about a guy with a tattoo. I see something else. I see a meat grinder where your rank, your specific level in the food chain, is the only thing keeping you from disappearing into the floorboards. If you want to survive the Fox River state of mind, you have to understand that the prison world isn't just about bars and guards. It's a ladder, and every single rung you climb changes the rules of the game. If you play it like a civilian, you're dead by lights out. If you play it like a hero, you're dead by the weekend. To get out, you have to stop being a person and start being a rank. I've spent years deconstructing how this system works, from the lowest fish to the highest shadow. And trust me, the view from the top is just as terrifying as the view from the bottom. The moment you step off that bus, you are a fish. You have no name, no history, and exactly zero leverage. In the Prison Break universe, being a fish is a death sentence if you don't find an anchor. Think back to Michael Scofield's first day. He wasn't just the new guy, he was a target. Every set of eyes on that yard is calculating your net worth. They aren't looking at your face, they're looking at your shoes, your stature, and how quickly you look away when someone stares. Nobody talks about this, but the fish stage is actually the most observant you'll ever be. You're hyper-aware of everything: the rhythmic jingle of the keys on a guard's belt, the chemical sting of the industrial bleach used to scrub the floors, who sits with who at the chow hall. I've noticed that the guys who survive this rank are the ones who learn to disappear. Scofield did the opposite. He made himself noticed by the right people while staying invisible to the wrong ones. That is a dangerous gamble. Think about Seth, the kid Teabag targeted. He was the classic fish. He had no utility, no muscle, and no protection. If you're at this rank, your only currency is your dignity, and the system is designed to bankrupt you. You're dealing with what I call the newbie tax. Whether it's giving up your dessert or taking a beating for a cellie you don't even know, you're paying for the right to breathe. In Fox River, the fish are the fuel for the fire. You stay at this rank, and you're just waiting for someone to decide they need your shoes or your life. I've seen people try to fight it, to act tough on day one. They usually end up in the infirmary. The secret to surviving level 0 isn't strength, it's patience. You have to wait for the hierarchy to open up a spot for you. Once you survive the first week, you have to pick a side. You move up to what I call the operational rank. This is the world of John Abruzzi and prison industries. You aren't just an inmate anymore, you're a cog in the prison economy. This is where your life starts to have value. I've spent a lot of time looking at how Abruzzi ran Fox River. He didn't do it through just violence. He did it through infrastructure. He owned the work details. If you wanted the good chemicals to clean your floor, or a sharp piece of metal, or just an extra 20 minutes of sunlight, you went through him. As an earner, you provide a service. You're C-Note, the guy who can get anything. You're the guy who can fix a radio, or the guy who can smuggle a letter. But there's a sub-rank here, the enforcer. This was Lincoln Burrows for a long time, the sink, the muscle. If the earner is the brain of the yard's economy, the enforcer is the fist. But here's the thing, the enforcer is the most replaceable rank in the system. You're the one who takes the shiv in the yard to protect the shot caller. You're the one the guards target when they need to make an example. It's a position of perceived power, but zero security. I've noticed that in Prison Break, the transition from fish to earner is where most people lose their souls. To become an earner, you have to trade something. Abruzzi traded his outside connections. C-Note traded his integrity. You start to realize that the prison isn't just a building, it's a marketplace. And at this rank, you're no longer a person, you're a commodity. Your safety is tied to your production. Stop being useful, and you're back to being a fish. Then there is the rank that shouldn't exist, the ghost.
This is the Scofield rank. This isn't about muscle or money. It's about being the only person in the room who knows how the room was built. Most inmates see a wall. The ghost sees a series of pipes, load-bearing bolts, and weak points in the concrete. I've realized that this is actually the most dangerous rank to hold because it requires you to be a Tier 1 manipulator. To be a ghost, you have to be essential to every other rank. You have to be the guy a Brucey needs for his escape, the guy Teabag wants to follow, and the guy the Warden thinks is a good kid. You are playing a four-dimensional chess game while everyone else is playing tag. You are in the prison, but you aren't of the prison. But here's the secret nobody talks about. The ghost rank is exhausting. You can never turn it off. I watched Michael Scofield's face throughout the first season. He never truly sleeps. He's always calculating. If you make one mistake, one miscalculation in the timing of the lockdown or a guard's rotation, the entire hierarchy collapses on top of you. You're not just carrying your own weight, you're carrying the weight of everyone you promised a way out. This rank is a lonely, high-altitude tightrope walk. You have the most power, but you also have the most to lose. If an earner fails, he loses a business. A ghost fails, everyone dies. But everything I just told you is only half the story. We've been talking about the inmates. We've been looking at the yard from the ground up. But the real prison world isn't just about who's behind the bars. The hierarchy doesn't stop at the warden's office. The real issue, the data that completely changed how I watch this show, is that the ranks inside are just a mirror of the ranks outside. The company, the politicians, the shadows. If you think the shot caller in the yard is the top of the food chain, you're still playing the fish's game. The real walls are built by people who never have to step foot in a cell. Now we look at the ranks of authority, the wardens and the officers. You'd think they're the kings, right? Wrong. In the prison break ecosystem, a guard like Brad Bellick is actually just a different kind of inmate. He's trapped in the same walls, breathing the same recycled air, but he has the illusion of control. I've noticed that characters like Bellick are driven by the most dangerous emotion in prison, insecurity. He knows that if the lights go out and the doors open, his badge is just a piece of tin. He overcompensates with cruelty because he knows his rank is borrowed. He doesn't own the prison owns him. He's a middle manager in a hellscape. And then you have the warden. Warden Pope tried to lead with rehabilitation and decency, but Fox River showed us that decency is a structural weakness in a maximum security environment. When you're at the top of the official rank, your biggest enemy isn't the inmates, it's the bureaucracy above you. You're a figurehead. You're there to keep the lid on the pot, but you don't control the heat. The warden is the most visible rank, which is also the easiest target. He's responsible for everything, but controls almost nothing. The most fascinating transition in the show is seeing Bellick go from the highest rank of authority to the lowest rank of inmate. It proves that in this world, rank isn't something you have, it's something the environment allows you to keep. When he was in that jumpsuit, he realized the keeper rank was just a costume. Finally, we reach the level that breaks the scale, the shadow rank. This is the company. If Fox River is a cage, these guys are the ones who own the company that manufactured the wire. They don't care about the yard. They don't care about the code. I've analyzed the way Agent Alexander Mahone operates. He represents the bridge between the prison world and the real world. He has the intellect of a ghost, but the backing of the shadow. But look at what it costs him. This rank requires the total destruction of the self. To be at the top of the hierarchy, you have to be willing to murder your own soul. You aren't fighting for a bed or a meal. You're fighting for the narrative. Nobody talks about this, but the shadow rank is the most trapped of them all. They're stuck in a prison of their own making, a web of conspiracies where they can't trust their own shadow. At least in Fox River, you knew who your enemies were. You knew Teabag was a snake. In the shadow rank, your enemy is the person sitting next to you at the dinner table. You're free to move around the world, but you're shackled to a secret. So, what's the lesson here? Whether you're a fish, an enforcer, a ghost, or a shadow, the prison break world teaches us one thing. The walls are never the real problem. The real problem is the rank you accept for yourself. Michael Scofield didn't escape Fox River because he was smart. He escaped because he refused to be defined by any of these ranks. He was a fish who thought like a warden. He was an inmate who acted like a free man. The moment you accept your place in the hierarchy, you've already lost. Whether you're stuck in a 9-to-5 or a 6-by-9, the hierarchy is designed to keep you stationary. Think about your own life for a second. We all have our own Fox River. We all have people who think they're our wardens and people who try to treat us like fish. But the